My name is Ashley Renee Reed. This is Module 4, Assignment 2, Writing with Social Media. And it's a very thorough lesson. As I saw the lesson plan, the student handout and the teacher handout are very detailed. You would not be able to miss any steps with this. If I was handed this, I would know exactly what to do, when to do it, which is a great point to bring up. It's very thorough. You wouldn't be able to get lost in this lesson plan at all. There are also clear instructions for not only the teacher, but also the student. Very well organized, I would say. I don't necessarily agree that it flows as easily as it could, but I do think that it has a lot of detail in it, and there is a lot of instructions that are clear for the students. So I think that's really great. Also, it focuses a lot on real world scenarios. We all use social media, especially students, young, old. Almost all of us use it in our day-to-day lives. So I think that's a great prompt, a great lesson, if you will, about media and using it to write messages. So I think that's another great point to add. I also think that getting students, especially students who aren't quite used to English, introducing them to maybe English that doesn't have, complete sentences, like starts at 7. Well, that's not a complete sentence, but it's how people text, how people message each other. I think that's good exposure that English students who are learning English don't really get very often. In fact, I also love how they actually do use, abbreviated spelling, because again, that can be really confusing for a non-native speaker in general, when they have they come up with slang words spelled shortened, or just jargon they are not familiar with. So I think that's a great way to expose them to it. And the way this is set up, it mirrors a lot of social media, so they can be a little familiar with it. And also, I do like how, they have to actually look for information in the dialogue. This means that they'll have to read it very thoroughly, all the places and every single line, has information. I also like how this ARG was included, because again, I'm not sure if it wouldn't. I think it's a good idea when English speakers or non-English speakers are exposed to onomatopoeias like that, because they can be really confusing to explain. I definitely understand that when I first time I saw my cousins text me back, and they were using the Spanish spelling of ha ha ha, which was ja 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 ja, and I had no idea what was going on, what had just happened. And then I realized that the J is a ha sound. They're laughing. Ha ha. Okay, got it. So I think it's really good when non-native speakers are exposed to that kind of jargon, that kind of talk, that kind of spelling. That way, hopefully, it's less confusing in the future. I know it would help me in Spanish reading text from my family, who often use non-grammatical spelling and sentence structure, and it's very confusing. So and again, I do like how they had to look for information. That was really great. The way this is structured, again, it's very detailed. It's very organized. It's just that it seems there's a few negatives I did want to point out. The format just seems very odd to me. Like, again, this part, okay, that's great. They're prompting the student, what, social media, these icons, what are they? What do they do? Which one helps contact friends? To me, it's a bit asinine, mostly because it's not a full list. It's just a clip. Maybe if it was a bigger picture, or if it was maybe a fill in the blank kind of thing, like the students would have to answer what they use. But it just seems a little pointless to have this here. I do like the dialogue. I do think that's, it has enough of the realistic spelling and sentence structure that real texts have. So I thought that was great. And even looking for information, because the students will have to pay attention to this dialogue. I thought that was good as well. So, and also it goes over grammar points. So even if you didn't want to talk about, even if media wasn't the point, you could even narrow it down to grammar, you know, as well as the way that English is structured. When you say she'll be bigger than you, they want you to go in depth more with what that actually means. So I think that's a really great way to bring about learning. Making sure that the students know what all these almost innuendos mean. The thing I really did not understand really was the student handout task 3 and 4. I thought this was very odd and awkward, and I would have just taken this out. The messages thing seems very strange to me. Read your classmates' comments and message them or comment on them. It seems very odd. But I understand the point of it. It has a great point. It just seems that it would be better if the messages, if this part just was not there. It just seems very odd. Because, it's just the students are writing these down and kind of moving, shuffling and writing out more things. So I might have maybe structured this a little differently. Task 3 is great. Like I do like that. Interesting topics for a new message. That's great. I just think that the commenting message part is a little odd. Like this is just very strange to me. I don't know if I would use this because it seems a little confusing. But I mean, I would probably just take this out because everything else is fine. To me, everything this actually does make sense to me. Even the parts of writing a new message. Even though this is very loose, I think that students might get a little lost at this part because you're not giving them any kind of grammar structure. Like, I think this is a great lesson, but I prefer if there was a grammar point as well in them. If there was some kind of focus, like, okay, well, I want you to use this a lot, this present tense, future tense, perfect, perfect future, future perfect. And in that, because this just gives them so much leeway that sometimes unlimited options of what you're using can get a little overwhelming, especially for non-native English speakers. So maybe having this a little bit more limited right here, just give them some more rules, a little more guidelines. And again, the teacher instruction sheet, again, great. It's just, I also think that it says you can use computers. And the thing is, if you can't use the computer media at the college you're teaching, I kind of find that another issue. You can't even, it's about something you can't use on sometimes you can't use on campus, or, you won't be able to use on campus. That could be also an issue as well. But other than that, I mean, they're really good points. And, it seems like it had a good structure. I just think some of the way it ended was a little odd. The way it ended was a little odd to me, just this right here. I would have just taken this part out, really, and put some more guidelines on to task 3. I would have just added a little more guidelines. So other than that, it was a good lesson, and thank you so much for taking this time to watch this video. I hope you have a good day.